Hello,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. How are you, Ors?
I'm okay. Well, I guess we're recording this the day that daylight savings times ends. So I guess to people watching
Happy.
this live, hope you guys all got your extra hour. Um, but yeah, we're
Light
no
savings is such like a wild thing when you like really think about it. Kind of weird.
the original purpose was actually I think to save, or well, it was I forget which president introduced it, but it's like get people outside more, save energy on on like lamps, I guess. But nowadays it's just like it actually wastes energy on AC because people don't actually go outside during daylight savings as much.
Classic kids these days, but it is what it is. How
uh,
how's your daylight savings day been, Orzy?
well, finally, people will stop harassing me about like not specifying EDT or EST when I'm like uh, when I'm worrying about scheduling like collegiate Tetris League stuff. This has never been a complication for me before this. I've always just said XEST and people have been just like, yeah. But I don't know. Somebody was just like, you don't mean EDT, right? And I was like, I have literally never thought about that because we
I
have.
just say I just say that I don't put the S or the T anymore. I just like let people fill in the blanks. I don't know.
What
Maybe
you just
maybe
say
I'll do
like
it.
P?
I just say PT,
Oh,
and call it a
PT.
day.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I usually think that whatever. It's okay.
True.
Anyway, yeah.
Talking
Uh,
about teaching today, coaching, teaching, it's all the same.
yeah. So we don't have a real like really a guest this podcast. Try not to run through our list of candidates so quickly, but yeah, I wouldn't say we're both like super qualified to talk about like ultra qualified to talk about this, but I don't think
We
anyone
both
really
coached
is.
a
So
little bit, or we've done a lot of coaching, like
yeah,
in the Tetris sphere specifically. Which I don't know. I think that makes us as qualified as anybody in the
yeah.
community to talk about it.
Well, we're qualified in terms of experience, but I think we're probably going to get into a lot of like little theory things that might not necessarily be true because of or like the lack of credibility when I'm not worried, but like
Mm-hmm.
what I will preface is that we're both close to the top level, but nowhere near or not even close. We're adjacent to the top level. We know a lot of people that are at the top level and have some opinions from them, as well as we're both like
Solid. We're solidly mid-level, I think.
uh
Solidly somewhere in the
yeah.
middle.
I'm pretty solidly X. Renge is pretty solidly like high U, almost X. So like it's these opinions aren't like completely out of nowhere, but and that's all. That's my preface. I don't want to I don't want to down talk us too much. Otherwise, I guess no like nobody will listen. But I will say that um, this is not we're definitely not talking indefinites here like with our like tournament experience or whatever like
Mhm.
tournament running experience. Um, but yeah, so why don't we just get right into it? The main thing, and I would say probably the one of the things plaguing or one of the reasons Tetris might be, kind of smaller as a community is because it has a really pretty big learning curve, at least versus Tetris does. If you hop
Mhm.
on TL, in if you hop on TL, it'll be or like if you just start playing versus, it'll be a while before you're able to like even touch anybody that has put even like a month or two into the game. There's
Yeah.
just like a huge difference um between those people.
There's a
And
lot of like playing against the game versus playing against an opponent. as well, where like you don't really feel like you're playing against the opponent until you've put like however many hours into the game.
Yeah.
I don't even know the number, but
Yeah, honestly, like for a very long time, and some might even argue like there's still players that play as though there's no opponent. It's just a two single player games happening at the same time. Um,
hmm
I would say that probably starts to change around S-ish, I feel like. Um,
yeah, I'd say so.
or well,
S maybe like the border between like A plus and
yeah.
S rank or whatever.
It's like the maximum amount of interaction that will be happening is usually like where someone can make a meaningful decision for a long time. It's gonna be through the opener, right? And like that's where you
hmm
kind of like get that like opener main distinction, I think. And it's a bit difficult to try and break people out of that. I think you also end up recommending the very, very similar stuff to beginning players because really all they need to do is build up enough of that base stacking or like visualization skill to like play against to like be able to play the game without having to think about it, and then the
Yeah.
higher level thinking can be used on more of like the versus elements or um, decision making that isn't just like how do I keep clean here. You can
hmm
take risks or like understand when a risk is worth it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And arguably like that's really all you need for a really really long time. Like I still find myself feeling like wow, it really doesn't matter, like I shouldn't really be thinking about like the strategy because right now I'm losing off of just like I'm not like staying clean consistently enough, or like it's just those basics
hmm
really really go a long way. So uh,
I think that's why uh in terms of like new player coaching, it's honestly it can be really hard to just to like justify spending a lot of time with a very new player in like one-on-one coaching because
yeah,
you end up always recommending the exact same exercises. You go, okay, here's a terminal exercise.
yeah.
Okay, here's like APM survival if you're past a certain level. That's I don't know.
But
It
you
can
know
get
what's
hard.
crazy, like those
Mm,
used to not even exist, right? You used to literally just say go play like marathon or sprint or something. Like it's I think it's like I don't know, like how long have you been a coach? Like have you were you around during that time? I think you were, right?
no, I was when I started coaching, eternal exercise was already a thing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I mean like eternal exercise is basically sprint, but like it's a little bit more of like something. And I guess now we can sort of get into like there's a little like sophistry to it, definitely. Like
Mhm.
what matters more is that people like have the motivation to get over that learning curve more than necessarily having
Like
any
actually.
specific exercise. Yeah.
Mhm.
And but yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably end up covering this a little more because a lot of like learning stuff isn't for like X ranks and above. Like they're like not X ranks and above, like higher level players up to like U-ish. That's kind of when players need it. They must really start to have like some critical thinking about like what they need to work on if they like want to get better more quickly. And you
Mhm.
don't really need to go into a lot of they're not really lacking anything anymore. Um, so usually those kinds of players, if they're looking for coaching, like you don't really need to be super specific, I guess, like because it's not about motivating them anymore, right? There's usually the
Mhm.
sunk cost of like I'm already like U rank.
I
Uh,
better I better get there. Come on.
yeah. But yeah. So this is something I think back when Garbo was doing coaching, I don't know. I'll give the credit because, um, I used to watch Garbo back when I was getting into coaching, and I also like asked him about some of his ideas on coaching. Some of which, I mean, they're all pretty straightforward, and most of his stuff about coaching are like pertains to reasons why he stopped doing it. Um,
Mm.
and it's mainly that like, yeah, it's not really often that coaching will be super worth it. there's not really any distinction between like a good coach, or there's not enough difference between like a good coach and a bad coach, right? Someone
Yeah.
telling you to practice, there's no skill involved in someone telling you to like practice the same exercise. There's no like diagnosis there. The same exercises will always help you improve because you can always improve your fundamentals. So yeah, and with that, I guess like we can talk a little bit about those exercises you mentioned. And sorry, yeah.
What's the big one? The big ones are eternal exercise,
Yeah.
APM survival.
Yeah, so for those not in the know, all right, do you want to explain like what the eternal exercise and these
Yeah,
APM
sure.
survival modes are?
So eternal exercise is basically a 40-line sprint, except that you can only build up to 12 high on your board, I think, and you
Yeah.
can only clear Tetrises. So basically, it's just forcing you to stack clean in like 9063 whatever, and you have to stack clean or else you will lose the exercise.
Yes. So, and then APM survivals is made by Reviclia. He just kind of I think when user modes first started coming out, Reviclia kind of went crazy with a lot of like little cool ideas. So that was pretty neat of him. But basically the APM survival modes, they'll just send APM to you in a like semi-realistic pattern, and it's just your job to try and live as long as possible. They come in lots of different flavors. Some people have also made like their own versions of them. So I think Reviclia initially just made 60, 120, and 200. And then Not Kion, he made the 90 APM version. I don't know who made the 30 APM version. And then Lim GW made the 100 APM version. And then there's also Alf made a 150 version that's only sends clean. That's supposed to like mimic Firestorm or something. But they all have the same idea. It's like sending you versus garbage so you're able to cancel and stuff. It's kind of one of the only exercises that teaches you really like defense as opposed to just downstack, which is what people usually... I think the words downstack and defense are usually a little too intertwined. There's a lot of value in being able to spot a quick cancel, and as you wait for the cancel, you have a little time to look for a downstack. That's kind of not really talked about. It's something I talked to you about at some point, I remember.
Yeah. Started applying that.
Yes. Defense is more than just or well, the game is a little more than just how quickly you can see certain solutions. But it's still a lot about how quickly you can see certain solutions. And like even if you have that good habit of being able to trying to go for an easier to see cancel, even if you're like applying these good habits, it's not really enough if you aren't able to see the good down stack later. And even thinking about those habits might even just be taking away from your ability to see stuff because you're focusing on too much. But yeah, but the main things there, besides the decision making that like you can apply with the APM survival modes, and they have their own flaws too, because you can't really like focus on canceling cheese and receiving clean, because it uses messiness to keep the garbage more realistic instead of like having more varied send patterns. But overall, like the main like meta of training exercises that will like never not help someone is just that they'll focus on your basic stacking, right? Or your basic ability to stay clean in a versus game, or like just like in general Tetris for the eternal exercise.
Pretty important to stay clean. I think we should bring some attention to that for people who don't really know the importance. Is like if you don't have a clean board at all, you're going to die.
Yeah, there's basically no point in there's very rarely a situation where taking a huge risk to destroy your board like that, it's rarely ever worth destroying your board to do anything, because there's almost always a way to keep the board clean while like continuing to output damage and skim out and stuff like that. And I think a lot of people, like, there's obviously that opinion that like that's kind of a boring way to play, like, or not really. And it's not really, staying clean is always good. I don't think people would argue with that, but the definitions of clean will vary, and how you keep the board clean. Keeping the board clean with like back-to-backs is like its own skill, but yeah. I don't know. This is sort of becoming a ramble. I should try and stick to a topic. That's my bad. But yeah, I think Renge, you've been probably a coach more recently than I have, and I don't know how active you are to like I mostly stopped doing coaching like at the beginning of this year. But yeah, like what kind of trends do you see with like the coaches nowadays, or like
Coaches nowadays, I don't know. I mean, I don't really watch other people coach. I feel like coaching between like friends is a very like common thing that happens nowadays, where it's like one player who's friends but also like way better than their friend giving them tips, which I think is a really good way to be able to give information and like have the person receiving it be like, yeah, I want to listen to this incoming information, because a lot of coaching is not actually the information that you're giving out, like Or said earlier. It's is the person going to be receptive to change, or like are they going to want to apply these things that you're telling them? And like a lot of that comes down to, do you have the people skills to make it interesting, or like do you are you able to like get through to them in terms of like making them want to learn, which I think is something that I'm kind of good at as just like a general people-ish person.
It's especially like for people that are able to like kind of motivate others. Like and I guess I did have this entire like another like ramble video I made, probably like the first podcast style content kind of thing that people were more receptive to than I thought. That caused me to think maybe this would be more viable. This kind of thing would be more viable, but yeah, it's coaching is almost at this point entirely just about motivation, or at least how I've set the UC coaching system up to be. It gives people the confidence. This is another idea I guess I'm sort of stealing from Garbo, or something that he said. Is and like it's not like a hard conclusion to come to, but like people just kind of want confidence in what they're practicing, right? They want the knowledge that like they're not missing something really obvious, or like and it's cool when there is something really obvious that they are missing, and you'll occasionally get like sessions where somebody gets something really valuable out of coaching that like they basically had no idea about. There's like some skill that they had no idea about, or some kind of thing. And yes, it's like it's kind of our job as coaches to like for someone to feel satisfied with their coaching session. Having a moment like that would be cool, right? Like if you show them a solution to something that is like immediately applicable. But there aren't a lot of like repetitive micro situations that you can like give someone like a quick little tip on that like they probably wouldn't see themselves, right? Or like they'd actually be able to apply it. So like some opener follow-up, right? I used to point out there's that one hard PCO solution.
The one where you have to like soft drop the SZ a billion times?
The LSC one. And yeah, but like from what I've seen from like, because I peek in on the UC coaching, and I sort of see what see what they say. I also trial a lot of people, and they what people tend to nowadays is kind of just like a maximalist, like, oh, do all these things, right? Here's a
Mm.
ton of ways to like grind your various skills, or like maybe they'll have some tip that may or may not be useful, that's like I don't know, or like may or may not be applicable. I guess the people I accept generally, I try to make sure that they're not like, they don't have any like misinformation that they're gonna spread, but
Oh yeah.
generally I keep the bar pretty low. It is mostly just the people skills and how much time they're willing to commit to it.
Mm.
And I don't know if most people are expecting that. I think most of like the like back in the day we used to get more like serious people that are trying to think like, oh, this is something I have expertise in, and I'm looking to like use this expertise to like really like give something different to these people. But I think we've mostly passed that point where a lot of people feel like, or like a lot of the higher level players that feel like that's like an avenue for them to like talk about the game more.
Mm.
It's sort of past. I think a lot of them have realized that, or
It's not
they've sort of
exactly.
lost interest in it. It's not like you'll have something new to talk about with every person.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, we can end up talking about this too, right? Burnout with teaching, I think, and like
Mm. Yeah.
how people's the inevitable poor advice of play more, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that like
Play
it's not
more.
like those people. I mean, occasionally you'll get people that are like, yeah, like all I did was play more, and like they didn't really think about the game a lot. But I think for a lot of people, or like for a lot of people that end up like coaching or like thinking about coaching, they're sort of just like ends up as like, wow, I've explained this so many times and like in so much detail, but like I don't really feel like doing this every time for every person.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, is that something you've seen, or like have that you felt, I guess, like when you feel like you're
Mm.
repeating? I think you're more resilient to that sort of thing because I think you have some more people awareness that like, yeah,
I
well,
think
yeah, I'll let you explain.
in the end, I'm like I'm a pretty patient person. Like I don't really mind repeating myself that much if it's to a different person. Like generally speaking, in my own coaching experience, the people that I've happened to coach have been actually like really receptive to the change. And I chalk that up to me picking good students. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Uh,
yeah.
but I think a lot of players or a lot of coaches will will definitely feel that, be like, oh, I have to explain downstacking for like the billionth time. Oh
Yeah.
man, I have to explain what a cancel is for the billionth time. When I mean, the important thing to remember is like, it's your billionth time, but it's the person you're coaching. Like, it's probably their first time hearing what a downstack is. There's a lot of times where I'll be coaching someone really new to the game, and I'll be like, okay, so do you know what a downstack is? And they go, no. And I think that's a really important thing to consider when you're uh, like trying to avoid burnout, is like taking in the other person's perspective of like just wanting to learn. And I think
Yeah.
that wanting to learn, that motivation is like really, really special. It only really happens in things that people are interested in. People don't tend to want to like learn lots of things about something that they vaguely care about. That's what gets me through a lot of like the chunkier coaching sessions, is just like, this person is here of like their own will, so I should like put my back into it too. I don't
uh,
know.
yeah. Um, I don't know. For me, I'm not like very naturally like a people person. So, or I understand that this is kind of a service that people like need. And I think coaching is a pretty decent way, not only to because the people like when like the person is very motivated, but I think it's a good way to foster like
Hmm.
community and motivation as well. I would say it's not really the most efficient way to do it because it's like one-to-one sessions, but we're not really at the liberty to look for a super efficient solution.
Oh
And
yeah, like the efficiency isn't great, but are people really gonna like accept a more efficient way of doing it? Like, would the same people who request coaching actively go on YouTube and watch the videos all the
yeah,
way through?
I think people would. It's just that
Maybe.
it does take a little more forward investment to make those kinds of guide videos. And it's
Hmm.
also not guaranteed, but that like it's harder to convert those viewers into community members necessarily. But that's kind of a different topic, I guess.
Hmm.
I think the quintessential example of the burnout is the story of a winter nebs, and I might tell it badly, so if anyone in chat knows it better, I'll try and keep an eye on it. But or like the story of like winter nebs, the four wide Tetris questions channel, and three wide. Um, or like basically that was a mock forum of like a it was like it was made before Discord threads came out, but basically Winter Nebs was a community member. We've also like recommended his FAQ quite a few times, right? With
Hmm.
on the coaching. Um, but yeah, Nebs was a guy that I think he spent a lot of time in the hard drop questions channel. Um, and he for a long time he was just like answering every question, getting spreading the knowledge. But I think like people were just like people that enter it's like the barrier to entry to like go into a Discord channel and just like type something like a mindless question. It's like that has like if they just had scrolled up like for two for like a second, they would have gotten the answer to, and they wouldn't have had to kind of clutter the channel. I think eventually it got to him, and he just like stopped doing it. He broke. That's the teaching burnout or whatever.
I
And
didn't know this happened. I remember
yeah,
getting recommended Winter Nebs, and then I read his stuff,
yeah.
and I was like,
So yeah, he
yeah,
wrote that
some of
FAQ. Like some responses to that are like the FAQ, and I think he influenced Garbo when the Tetris questions channel, because it also had a lot of problems in the four wide server with like a lot of repeat questions and stuff,
Mhm.
to make it into more of a forum thing so people could try and look for the question that they answered before it um before they ask it, and like try and ask good questions or whatever. But Discord is not meant to be a forum, and it was a super over-engineered solution that I hope Nuke got paid enough for, because it's completely obsolete now with Discord threads. But yeah, basically what happened was she made Discord threads before Discord threads existed. Um, but
Classic
yeah,
news.
that's the response. It's not really. It didn't. Not much came out of it, because I think, like, yeah, there aren't really a lot of questions to answer. People have a pretty. I think most people have a fairly intuitive idea of how to get better, right? It's just like playing faster, staying clean better. You'll also usually eventually like find some of the clean patterns on your own, especially if you watch better players. Like this game is very intuitive. It's one of the reasons it's endured so much in like popular culture, right? It's just like a very simple puzzle game. The objective is clear immediately, and even though the patterns may get more complex, they're still just patterns that our brains are hardwired to find patterns in things and recognize them and apply them. So with enough practice and enough effort into it, and if you keep up the motivation to keep practicing, you will eventually get to where you want. Now, that's not to say there aren't more or less effective ways of practicing, um, and I think that's kind of where I try to focus my efforts in terms of like helping others, because you can't really coach someone's pattern recognition or their ability to like see patterns quickly. Um, and I think different people have different words for this. We were talking about this a little bit in your server last night,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, but the general term I use for it is just like whatever your like base like processing power is, right? If we're like pretend we're computers, it's like your CPU. You can make your CPU better through practice. I guess it's not really. It's the analogy sort of falls apart. Like you can't really make your brain go faster, but basically you're helping your brain recognize certain patterns more quickly. So it'll seem like your brain is moving faster just because it's spending less time finding whatever patterns. But I don't know. It's this big theory, but yeah, you can't really teach that to somebody, but what you
But you can like force it into their head
yeah,
if they practice like this and that.
yeah. When you need to structure your practice exercises so that like they're pushing that level of processing power. They need to be try and work within the close to their like maximum processing power without kind of pushing them so far that they'll start autopiloting, right? Like, because when you autopilot, you're not actually using all of it. You need to somehow find exercises that work for you that help you stay like within like a, I don't know, like a 90% ish kind of level of difficulty. Like, otherwise you'll get like fatigued too quickly, and it's harder to like measure your performance and stuff, because feedback is also a big thing. It's pretty scattered and disorganized. Sorry, I don't know. I didn't write down too much here.
I think that's a big thing in like sports psychology.
Yeah. I'm mostly pulling a lot from, or like, I've read a decent chunk on like sports psychology, or I wouldn't say a decent chunk, but I'm pulling a bit from ideas from other disciplines, basically, because Tetris is. I don't think anyone's done any academic research beyond like Tetris math.
I mean, I think learning in Tetris is pretty similar to learning in most things, which honestly comes down to you have to find that spot that makes you work for it, but not so hard that you sputter out.
Yeah, I think another problem with a lot of if you try and apply like practice resources, practice theory to Tetris, a kind of disconnect between the research and what Tetris is Tetris isn't really a game of there's not really a lot of like fine motor. You don't need, it's not like a complex motion that you need to build into muscle memory like in a fighting game or like in music. There's a lot of practice theory relating to music. People have been wanting to get good at music for like years and years.
Can confirm, and was musician
and
used to be.
There's a lot of practice theory relating to mastery of an instrument, or like I guess like for some sport it's just like golf. I don't know. But Tetris is 100% or 99%. It's 99% just pattern recognition. There's almost zero like physical actions required, or like consistent physical actions required. I mean, there's finesse, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't really take that long to learn because you have such a restricted movement set.
You can expedite your learning of finesse with the finesse video.
Yeah, I made that finesse video. I mean, it's just about breaking it into some discrete things, discrete
Hmm.
movements and stuff. Um,
I
yeah,
think that video is like a good jumping off point to talk about the idea of video coaching for Tetris. I think that's the
yeah,
direction that we should go in, like
yeah.
eventually.
I,
But
I don't
there
know
aren't
about
that
video
many rich
coaching,
things
but like it's more
like
like video teaching,
video,
right?
yeah, like tutorials,
Co-
SSBM tutorials.
co- coaching shouldn't be the same thing as teaching. And I think a lot of like the reason a lot of higher level players were initially interested in coaching is because it feels like that should be the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coaching is very different from teaching. And I think coaching is probably it would be way more beneficial to have a Tetris coach that's better than you than to have a Tetris teacher who like just kind of tells you stuff about the game. It's versus a coach who's like actively sort of engaging in the game with you, like keeping up with your progress, measuring certain things, right? Like how a tennis coach does with you, right? If
Mm-hmm.
have you played tennis, Wrench?
I have not played
Have you done
tennis, but I have
sports?
played piano. I
Yeah,
used to be a really avid pianist, or like not avid, but
yeah, but generally with like a lot of um like a tennis coach, all they'll do with you pretty much is just kind of hit balls. They'll just hit balls with you, and like set up different drills and exercises for you to do. Maybe criticize your swing and stuff, but most of it is just kind of like grinding in those base movements. Which, again, it's kind of hard to make that comparison to Tetris because there's not a lot of like fine motor movement involved. But it's the same in that like that getting that processing power up is the grind, and um,
mhm.
the coach is there to kind of give you feedback about how you're doing right now, maybe pointing out like what situations you tend to autopilot in, or trying to figure out like is this exercise too difficult for you, the ones that you're practicing, is like the opponent that you're playing against is it going to be too difficult, like should you like why did I lose this match, like what stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
difficult to really do that when it's just like kind of someone saying these things. Or it's difficult to attribute that kind of critical thinking to a coach if they just kind of do a one-time session with you, or like
Yeah.
because this is a very gradual process, right? It's not
Hmm.
something that you that happens after like a session. You don't get like a buff after every coaching session. You get some information, then you have to grind it through yourself. And I think it's there that is kind of the quote unquote failings of the UC coaching, or like how coaching is typically done nowadays. It's not like your friend is constantly watching over your shoulder, or UC coach is like constantly watching over your shoulder, where it's like constantly giving
Big
you
brother
feedback when you're
UC.
yeah,
I think you've talked about this to me private, like just like while we play Melee a lot,
yeah.
where
Well, I used to
uh,
back when I cared about this more, I guess, but or was the
I
main
mean,
thing on my mind more.
we
I
still
just still
talk
care
about it.
about it, but I don't. I have other things to think about as well.
Mhm. Where the ideal coaching system is every uh every coaching applicant, or like everyone who wants coaching is given like a dedicated one-on-one coach who like works with them over time.
Yeah, and like
That's like your idealized form, which is something that
yeah,
I've tried to
and
put
like
into
it's
effect.
like regular sessions, so that's
Hmm.
like if there's a bad habits can be stamped out quickly. You can figure out when it's the right time to move to a different exercise so that they're always practicing like relatively like as efficiently as they can.
Hmm.
Like figuring out how things are going. Just like I don't know. I might still try and do that again. Um, but yeah, it's just so unfeasible in terms of time, not just for the coach, but also for the student. And also, it would be so unreasonable to expect a service like that to exist for free.
Yeah.
Um,
I think, I don't know. Some people, it depends on the person a lot of the time, because like a coach can only take on so many, like so many mentees if they're doing it for free and if they have other stuff. Like I've definitely tried to do this like long-term coach for a couple players, and they've actually like grown really, really well, and I'm very proud of them.
Yeah.
And you've tried doing this for me as well. We should do
Well,
another session, by the way.
yeah, I didn't really do it very regularly with you. And I've made sort of half-hearted attempts to and by half-hearted I mean I've like asked and just waited to see if the other person was like really into the idea. And if it didn't seem like they were the ones like motivated and thought it was helpful, then I wouldn't really push the issue. I think that's a lot of things. Like if you don't really push for someone else to do something, then like, and if they, that's a good way to kind of see if they actually are really interested in something. You just kind of let them see
You
what
float
they
the
want to
idea by and you see if they bite, sort of deal.
do. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think some people are also shy about it too, and it's like some miscommunication.
In my own experience, it's definitely the people that I coach more than once who I like. If you're someone I'm coaching and you want to continue improving, I think a lot of coaches would be probably down to just like do more than one session, not like a regular thing, but just like a thing that happens every so often. But it's a lot of students that are just like, yeah, I got my coaching, I'm now going to walk away and like do my own thing.
Yeah,
Like
because it's just
I
that
guess we
again,
have
it's like a
improved.
motivation thing, or just trying to figure out like if they're missing anything obvious.
Yeah, I think that's something that we could definitely try to incorporate more. Like my one case study on this is one legendary bacon
Yeah.
who I don't remember. I think we started our sessions in the UC system
Yeah.
in like April, and he was A plus back then. Now it's October and he's mid SS, and I love that guy.
I think the problem with not problem, but it may not have been reflected as well, like his improvement, because he stopped playing for a bit, right?
Yeah, he did stop playing for a little
So
while.
that's fine. It all happens. But it's just like again using tennis as a comparison, like I don't think it's an uncommon story for people who like, like practice tennis a lot to just, or like most like individual sports, to like just you go every week, right? You go like once or twice a week and you just kind of grind. It's like hundreds, it's probably like thousands of dollars across like I played tennis for like a really long time, like since I was like 4 or not 4.
You were a tennis
I was
player?
taking lessons in elementary school for a while, and I stopped taking them my senior year of high school. So yeah, like it adds up. Definitely
Solo activities, definitely. I'm actually like literally the exact same way with piano. Now that I think about it, I did piano since I was like 6 until like graduated high school.
Yeah, my parents also spent a lot of money on piano lessons too.
Same. Haha.
Yeah.
Unlike those though, Tetris coaching is free, which is nice.
Well, it really shouldn't be, I think, but we can get into that right now. There are times when I feel like it was a misstep for UC coaching to kind of come in and be free. I think it certainly wouldn't have gotten the same amount of attention if it were paid. But I wonder if it set a poor precedent.
Maybe. I hadn't really considered precedent, but I think part of the reason that UC ended up being as successful as it was because they had the free coaching system in place.
We actually ran a survey for that, and I don't think that matters. It mattered to like
Really?
90% of players. Yeah.
Like 90% of people who asked for coaching would have paid for coaching. I don't believe
Oh no, sorry. Like 90% of people that like enter UC didn't really care about the coaching.
Oh.
They're there because it's like a huge newbie level tournament, right?
Let's see.
It wasn't like
Yeah.
90. It was like 80 or something. I have to relook at the numbers. There's someone in chat who's like a yeah.
Big easy buff.
Can take a quick look at chat. Shoot, yeah. I might be moving away from the mic every once in a while. I'm trying to keep looking at the OBS, and I'm trying to keep like it like I see it's going to 20 pretty consistently, so that's good. But maybe I'm still being quiet.
I don't know, but do you think the people who would have gotten coaching would have done it if it was paid? I don't know if I kind of agree that it's not great precedent, but I don't know.
It's not a great precedent for sort of money being in the scene at all.
That's true.
I don't know. I don't even know if more money in the scene would help, I guess. Who knows? I think because there were people doing like paid coaching for a while.
There still are people doing paid coaching.
Are there really?
Wumbo has coaching on Fiverr.
That's
about it.
Yeah. Used to
That's
be
about all
Garbo.
I
I
can
think Nebs had on the top of his FAQ that he did paid coaching. I don't know if he still does that. I don't know if anyone actually contacted him about that either. I don't know. I don't know if it was a missed opportunity, because I'm sure there are people that would have paid more money for it, and like it would have been a good way to. Maybe it wouldn't have. I was just wondering what you thought. It not too dissimilar from what I would have thought, I guess. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of people who have paid coaching. I've always done free coaching because I just like don't care that much.
There was a moment when I thought about doing like paid style like continuous coaching.
That.
I didn't really get any. I didn't publicize it well, and I didn't really get any paid offers. It was more of like the paywall was more of an excuse to not offer a very in-depth coaching to more people.
Did it work?
Because it was basically like I would only want to do this for like people that I know well, or people that I know are going to care about it, right? So the money is just like a barrier to caring. I was going to like, there were a few people I had considered like doing that with. I think one of my original like during the phase where I thought like I could like get more publicity through like VTubers or something. I was thinking about doing it with Selena. I did like one like session with her on like height difference and T-spins, and I think she did pretty well with it, but she just needed to practice it, or like I think the concepts got through. She just needed to like practice it. So I said, hey, like you can send me like an ultra replay like sometime next week, and then I don't think she ever got back to me. But like I'm not gonna blame someone because she's like an adult with an actual schedule. But at the same time, I wouldn't really want to be like constantly talking with a high schooler or something. It's just weird. But I guess I wouldn't really care either. It just needs to be someone I know well.
Yeah. I don't know.
And it's still just a ton of time out of my day, and I also have a lot of responsibilities. So, maybe I still should try and do it. It's something that isn't.
Do it with me.
Yeah, maybe.
You,
I've been getting more interested in. I've had that itch again for a bit, because I've been thinking a little more about the game. How long have I been going? 50 minutes. All right.
50 minutes. I think for my own like experience as a student, it's pretty wild how much like one coaching session or like one coach can kind of like shift your entire view on the game though. Like if that moment comes up, oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I remember specifically there are 2 times this happened for me, and then I like inexplicably jumped up like a couple hundred TR or some shit. I don't know. It was crazy. One of them was with Alv great guy. Love Alv great, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. He was just like, yeah, squeeze out that last bit of combo if you can. And it's such an obvious thing, but the mental galaxy brain meme that I had in my brain, it was insane. I was like, holy shit, Alv. I messaged him like the next day. I was like, holy moly, this is insane. I'm going crazy. It's one of the best feelings. And then like there is something about like the one-on-one coaching style, especially if it becomes like a regular thing. If you as a student are willing to go through the effort of doing that with a coach, it's a really good way. A lot of coaches are pretty integrated into the scene at this point, I'd say.
Well, they have friends, I guess, with them.
Yeah, or like they just have friends in the scene, or like people know them or something. One of my earliest coaches was Modest Tomato, because he like beat the shit out of me at Tetrio Cup, and I was like, this was when I was on a really big coach grind. Like I would just ask anybody better than me to like look at my gameplay, and just be
Looking
like,
for a dad. I don't know. That's a weird way to put it. I don't know.
Thanks, Ours.
Sure.
Yeah, guy that beats you up in a tournament, you go, hello.
Be my dad. Please.
But yeah, part of the reason that I'm where I am today in terms of the community is just because like I got coaching from Modest, and then I continued to get coaching from Modest. Building those bonds can be really beneficial to like your life, not only as a player, but like if you want to care about the community, it's a good way to like kind of get your knees wet or whatever, get your little toes wet.
Yeah.
What else? I don't know. I have like a whole notepad document. It's ginormous of little baby S rank, A- rank
Notes.
or yeah, like S rank, A+ ish, until I got to like mid SS, and then I stopped doing it as much.
Yeah.
I would like not take notes anymore. Instead, I just listened to Jed tell me my decisions are bad. But
yeah,
I don't know, that kind of thing. Just like that drive I had for just like wanting to take in information. It's like that was fun. That was a fun era of the Renges.
For me, I think I sort of just how I am, and also like I kind of started playing during an era where there weren't as many people in the community, especially not as many people in the community willing to like teach others, I guess, or like just in general, there's less people in the community. Like, and by the time like UC rolled around, I was already like U rank, so I wasn't like about to like get really like request coaching myself, considering I mean there's U ranks that request coaching all the time now, but like I integrated myself within this like as like a teacher kind of person first. And
not as a student.
You know what's crazy? I remember I was like, you know, like back when I was like doing every request basically, I tried to advise QB about some stuff. I was like looking back on that now, that's kind of like wild. And I was definitely at the time, I was like, wow, I'm like definitely not that much better than you, but like you can try doing XYZ kind of things. And back then I was just kind of, I was mostly like focused practice kind of. That was my whole meme. Now I sort of have mixed feelings on how focused practice works, or like, because I feel like the game more nowadays is just like, wow, everything is just stacking. There's literally no difference between most kinds of stacking. It's just if you can keep the board clean, you can pretty much do whatever you want with the board. Um, that's not to say there aren't different kinds of stacking, and there's certain different categories of patterns, but past a certain point, there's not, you kind of know all of them, and you just need to figure out when to apply which one. But yeah, I got a little bit of coaching from Ben once, or a few times. I wouldn't say those sessions were like completely unfruitful, but it was definitely not like the big, like kind of game changer. It sort of just reinforced my ideas that the game is really, really heavily built on fundamentals.
I mean, it is.
It is. But yeah, I think there's that distinction, and it's how I've kind of framed my understanding of like teaching and like how people get better at the game right now. There are only like there's two ways to improve at the game, very very broadly speaking, right? Like obviously you can be a little more granular with it, and coaching will most quickly help with one of them. You can either improve that base processing power like we were talking about before, like finding good exercises. Coaching can help with that, but it's mostly on the student to practice. I think any kind of exercise will help, right? You just need to be playing the game more with a critical eye, and like you'll get better, right? But other than that, there's habits that people form or don't have that they could be applying and like making better use of their processing power. So this is stuff like, having the habit of spending a little time when you're waiting to cancel something so you can think about a good downstack because you have that extra safety of the cancel. Or like with what you were saying before with Alv teaching you to like extend the look to extend a combo more when you're in the middle of a bigger one, right? It's not that you didn't have the like processing power at the time before you talk with him about that. It was just a bad habit or like a good habit that you didn't have at the time. And that's kind of the big value of coaching. When you have a student that has like enough processing power to be that they're just applying poorly, right? That's how you'll get the biggest benefit out of coaching. If you have a really obvious or not really obvious bad habit, but if there's some bad habit that can be explained away. But I think too often people will try and explain things as habits when they're really just not like,
knowing the thing yet.
They just don't have the processing power to like to apply something, right? It's something like, hey, you should like even something like don't cover garbage, right? Or like try and like visualize the whole solution. Like sure, that makes sense in theory, but like, and there will be players that just kind of cover garbage because like they don't even think about it, but they're able to do that, right? They're able to think about the garbage and not cover it. But it's like a lot of the time those players are they're not covering garbage because they're not like looking at the garbage and like they have the time to. It's because they literally don't have the processing power to both stack cleanly above the garbage and think about the garbage, right? They just don't have the skill yet. I mean, it's obviously good to tell people about that, especially that is a pretty common bad habit. It's not always just like I can't think of a good example of like where it's something could be where something that's usually prescribed as like a bad habit, where it's really just like a lack of it's usually just like a deficiency.
Probably like the only thing I can really think of that kind of fits the description is like why did you skim off here, make the T-spin?
Yeah, like missing a T-spin, I guess, right? That's just like a lack of vision, right? It's not a bad habit to miss T-spins. Or it's not always. It can still be a bad habit to miss T-spins, but it's really hard for that distinction, right? As a coach, I think it's not even your job, but like if you're wondering like why as a coach, like how come some players are like doing way better than like afterwards and they tell me, oh, I'm doing so much better now, right? It's just like it's probably, well, yes, it's more like there's a lot of different factors that could go into that, right? It could be like they're applying the practice more, and like they were more receptive to certain things. But like I think 9 times out of 10, it's just kind of like this person didn't have the or like this person happened to have um the processing power to up to like do better, but certain habits were holding them back. So I don't know.
I think over time, like as you continue to improve with the game, things become less, I don't know what this is, or I don't have the processing power, as much as they do become bad habits. I think as you get better, that it kind of like starts going in the one direction.
I think it's more like, well, as you get better, like you're generally gonna like weed out a lot of the bad habits, and then you'll just like end up with, wow, I can't beat this player because, or like I can't beat, we can't even touch like Diao or like Blarg or something, or I guess CZ. And well, the reason I don't mention CZ is because like the rhetoric with CZ is that he has certain good habits above the other people in his tier, but I think it would, but again, it's just like CZ has such high processing power, and like as well as all of the other top players. So I'm not gonna talk too much about that though, because I don't have enough. I'm not informed at, like I never play CZ, or like I can't really claim to have a useful opinion on that because I'm not as high of a level as some of these players. So let me turn on my light.
Or is you're not talking into the microphone anymore.
I was getting up to turn on my light. I'm sorry. But yeah, like you just, I think at the top level, or at least like, cause I'm someone who's not, I would say I'm like more like upper mid level at this point. Like, I don't know. And really the only ways
levels in Tetris is
yeah. There's definitely still some like refinements to my decision making that I could make, but it's just so much of it would be solved if you just like had better processing power. It's just like, well, okay, I'll just, or I don't know. I don't think it really goes in one way or the other, and if anything, I think it goes more in the direction of grinding up the basics more and more and more.
It all like kind of grinding, you know, like doing your fundamentals and making them really good, and then over time you'll work more into it. I think, yeah. It all kind of comes back to eternal exercise, doesn't it?
Do you mean like the actual eternal exercise, or just like
the concept behind the eternal exercise as a metaphor for?
Yeah, sure. A little bit of a stretch there, but I see what you're going for.
Thank you. I do my best.
But yeah, I mean, is there anything else we didn't really go over? The main thing, if I were to like really, like, if I had really just wanted to say one thing, is just like that, the difference between lack of processing power and habits, or like, I want to find a better term for it, but I think habit is a good term. Habit is a term I like, and I will try to use more. Anything else you want to say? We can go to chat for a bit. I feel like there were people that had a lot of opinions in chat, that because we were, minimal chat interaction, I'm covering my bases, right? But we can look at some chat questions if people are still.
What do you think of like the collegiate? West Canada has started doing the every so often we'll have like a teaching session, because everybody in West Canada except like me, Plu, and a few others are generally not super developed in their play. What do you think of that kind of deal?
I don't know. I didn't sit in on that because I thought it'd be rude to like pop in, but
I hate.
why
We
don't?
would have loved to have you. It was so much fun.
What did you guys go over? Like, I don't have a.
Uh, I think we just kind of talked about stacking in general, and then Blue went over T-spins towards the end. It was like a hey, like these are some things that you should be thinking about when you're stacking, and then we made them do eternal exercise. You know how it is. I don't know. I think group sessions like that for newer players, especially in an environment like collegiate where everybody's kind of like held together by this like, yeah, we're all Canadians. We're all from like Vancouver, and then like some of us are from Calgary too, I guess. Is like that kind of bond can be really
Yeah.
a good motivator for wanting to improve. And there's a lot of people from like my university who've like
Yeah.
come into collegiate and been
I
like,
think the
"Oh,
reason West Canada is doing a good job with the community stuff is because a lot of people you brought in are from your
are from our
specific
school."
universities, and like it's people that are coming in from esports rather than kind of people that we're picking up from the very kind of hermity to like Tetris community, right?
Yeah.
Where like
I guess
nobody really talks with each other.
like East Canada may have gotten the good players, but West Canada got all of the team spirit. We got me and we got Blue.
I think some of the
And
people at U Toronto like meet up with each other and stuff. It's just
yeah,
that they're all dying because like I think they're all probably doing CS and like
they are.
yeah,
It's tough.
it's tough. It's very sad.
I think collegiate is like could be a good avenue
I guess we're not
to
really talking to chat at this point.
help people improve. I don't know. Any chatters got questions? We can
Oh yeah, we can go to chat.
run it all the way
Go
back.
back to chat, sorry. But yeah, I think from what you guys went over, it seemed a lot like you were just running through the basic exercise gauntlet, right? Like giving that framework for people to improve their processing power. I need to come up with a better term. It's just I've said it so many times, and every time I say it, feels a little worse. I don't know.
You're not a fan? Not a fan of the PP?
It's just too long. I think the word vision could work, but vision implies complexity.
Yeah.
When it's more like the
How
real
much
like term
you
that
can
would
take
I
it.
want a term that explains the underlying theory, or like is self-explanatory, and the underlying theory isn't super specific to like complex. It doesn't like imply any complexity. I don't know. It's just like it's like pattern indexing, or like pattern
Yeah.
indexing,
That's too many big
pattern
words.
indexed speed process. Like I think it's like some kind of computer metaphor is good, but processing power is probably the best one I can do.
Pattern index.
Yeah, piss. Right. You can improve
So
your PP by working on your piss, and I think that's probably the the best way we can put that.
I feel like that's gonna become a
Yeah.
mantra.
And it can't be too like pretentious. I think processing power is the best one I can come up with, and it's why I'm using it.
Mhm.
It's not speed though, because stacking speed, like you can. It's not about speed. It's about like power. It's about like it's processing power, right? Like the processing power is the same even if you're going faster or slower. It's just that you can use more of it. Either you can use more of it to go either deeper into a solution by looking at more patterns, or like a more complex pattern, or you can use it to go faster and just like find decent patterns more quickly. It's just processing power. I don't know. That's the only way I can describe it. I like I don't know. I think power is the wrong word. Power works in like a
Computer metaphor,
computer
but not
metaphor.
in a people metaphor.
Yeah, it seems like I'm like smashing my keyboard or something. I don't know. I think I think that's about.
That's
Why
about
did like
the
5 people raid me? Diao raided me, and I forgot
yeah.
to thank him. Oh no, that was 7 days ago. Okay, now we're good. I did thank him last time. He rated the CTL.
Oh, okay, okay,
Okay, yeah.
good.
I think Return though. Thank you, Return again. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, I like coaching overall. Like, even though I don't think I do it quite as much anymore, I think
yeah,
having that connection with like a player who's improving and has the drive to improve can also like help you find your stuff. And they say like you only understand a concept well when you can explain it to someone who is worse than you or something. That's something that I've taken
yeah,
into a lot of my coaching sessions. Is like, this is not only for you. This is also to like confirm to myself that I can explain these concepts well.
yeah.
It's
I think I would have. I think that's why a lot of people get into coaching, and I think it's good that people are still, or like you're still uh, like feeling that. I think the way I approached coaching was like, I wouldn't really go in super prepared all the time. I would just have a few ideas formed out in my head, and I'd flesh them out as I was talking to the person. It's just like, it's kind of a selfish way to go about coaching, I think. Like I used it to enhance my own understanding. Selfish is probably the wrong word, but it's like kind of an ulterior motive. And I felt
I
like I probably wasn't as doing as good of a job as other people might have been able to at, talking with other people. Or it was just like, it was more exhausting to me than I think it would be
Mhm.
for other people. I don't think I was too bad for it.
Yeah. Speaking on that ulterior motive thing, I don't think anybody goes into coaching with an expectation to take nothing away themselves.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
nah. Some
That's
people,
what it is for me.
what maybe there's people that go in without expecting to take anything gameplay wise. They're just trying to like meet people or help people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
Or like in
Sign
an
Wave, Sign.
activity.
We had some conversations recently about speed, and he said in chat like, um, basically I was just using him as an example for like he felt like he couldn't really get any faster, even though he's gotten better at certain places. So speed as a habit, and this is like kind of one of the reasons that kind of spurred me towards this way of thinking. There's a lot of players, or there's a few players that I know of that like high level players that I know of that have gone from like very efficient, um, or like gone from like very efficient and but somehow not being able to play above like 2.3, 2.5. Like they maxed
Hmm.
out at like 2.5 pps. It's just that they didn't know what going fast, yeah, like they didn't have a good tuning for like going fast without like killing yourself, or like feeling like, oh, I need to think about this more. Like they're giving themselves a speed ceiling based on just their habit of like, I've always played at this speed, I've always like thought through every decision like this much. So like that's kind of one of the ways where like that's kind of the one of the only situations where you can teach, quote unquote, teach speed, right? It's the only
Hmm.
time speed is like a habit part. It's not, it's more falls under like it's a bad habit of going slowly, right? You're considering too much versus like 99.99% of the time you are not fast because you do not have enough processing power to go fast, right?
Hmm.
It's just like these super efficient players that happened to like be playing the game in one way for so long. So the people I know that have done this, I'll name drop a few. I think the person who, like, I heard this idea from Ben, who heard it from Circulation. Um, so it's just like the original idea of the training is to just, or like the way to remedy this, or like the one way to practice speed outright and like get big gains, is you spend a month forcing yourself to play at a target speed, so like 3 pps or something, um, and you just keep doing it until you're good, and you're playing good at 3 PPS, which is just like, that's such like a romantic, not romantic, like it's such an idealistic way to train, right? Like, and that
Mm-hmm.
it's just like forcing yourself, like pushing your limits, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And then you just like like it kind of it
I
worked for Sir
really like
Q, it kind of worked for Ben, but then he kind of ran into I think he just either stopped doing it or ran into hand issues. I don't remember.
that. Mm.
I also tried doing it, and then I also just like ran into hand issues, and I didn't even really get too much of a meaningful increase in speed. And um, I think also Kirigo, he spent a while just like only playing sprint, and now he's able to play 3 PPS, but not he tends to hover around 2.6. I think Ben also hovers around like 2.5 ish. He'll play 2.7 if he feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but basically it's just like that will not work if you're not like in the habit of playing fast,
Yeah.
right? If you they will not sorry yeah, it will not work if you're in the habit of playing fast, or like playing at like the threshold of your processing power, where you're not considering everything all the time, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I tried it, I did not really get that much faster. I was not ready to play 3 PPS. So I'm hoping Sign is in that situation, so the stuff I told him will help him go faster. He says he's been under 2 PPS for a long time, but we'll see.
Yeah. The closest thing for me for like speed improvement is Alcazar. I think I don't want to say he took it from Doremi, but I think he took it from Doremi, where he says if you're not misdropping at least a little, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Like you should be misdropping a little, and he would take that to friendlies, not like TL.
Yeah,
TL
yeah.
generally want to play safer or whatever because it's like ranking, but
Pushing yourself is
friendlies,
a
you
big thing. I think
Mhm.
the main reason people don't improve, or like one of like the like the secrets, I guess,
The
that maybe
secret
that
sauce to
certain players
improvement.
will why certain players will improve faster than other players is because some players like naturally try to push themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll try to play, they'll set either like more aggressive goals for themselves, or in general they'll just I guess I didn't talk at all about like goal based.
We can keep
Goal-based.
talking.
I'll mention it before. Yeah. So people will set like the very fast improving players will like have very high standards for themselves. They'll push themselves. They won't kind of sit in a mode that they're comfortable with and just kind of play just to have fun. It should still
Mm-hmm.
be fun. The game should still be fun, and there's a lot of
But
trappings with that kind of thing, especially if you're like killing yourself to reach like a certain goal or something.
mm-hmm.
Um,
But the goal is not as much having fun as it is
to
getting to that goal, getting to that improvement bar
yeah.
or whatever.
So yeah, it's something that it's something you can't really teach, or you're just like not, you shouldn't be allowed. It would be, it feels really mean, or like really like you're overstepping boundaries to say to someone like you need to, like you're not trying hard enough or something,
Mm-hmm.
right? But like I at least try to like frame it as like you should always be putting yourself in practice, should be uncomfortable, right? If you want to improve as quickly as possible, things always need to be uncomfortable. You need to be
Putting
beyond
yourself into
what you're comfortable with, and
yeah.
then make it comfortable. And once it is, you need to set the goalpost a little farther, The trappings of this are when you don't really, when you set goals that are unrealistic, or it's hard to tell what a realistic goal for you is. Improvement isn't just a line upwards. It has its steps up and down. It has its you have plateaus. You obviously it gets harder to get better as you get better, And I think the way a lot of players, especially fast improving ones, will approach the game is through setting PB goals or like setting targets on the backs of other players. And there's so many factors outside of your control to push yourself in that way, especially when you're trying to beat other players, because you know they're improving all the time too. You have your own yeah. I feel like everyone's going in on the PP stuff, but yeah, everyone has like kind of unrealistic, or not unrealistic, but not goals that are complete within your control. Like you have your own variances, other players have their own variances, and they're also trying to improve. So trying to say like I should be better than X player, or like I want to beat X player, it's like, and it might even sometimes feel, excuse me, like you're going backwards when you've kind of marked a player as like a goal completed, right? Like I've already beaten this player, and then maybe you have a bad day, they're improving a lot, they have a good day, they beat you, right? And it's just like, oh my god, I feel like I'm going backwards, right? Putting that much emphasis on your goals and like viewing improvement as, or like the process of improvement as steps up a ladder can be a little damaging on the psyche. So one thing I've been thinking about, or like something I've read about, is instead of goal-based like practice, or like processes to improvement, you should be process focused. As long as you're sort of putting yourself, you're always like sticking to a process where you're keeping yourself uncomfortable, practicing the things you need to be doing, and if you can be satisfied with that, the improvement will come as a side. It's kind of a side thing. It's like, it's nice to have, but the satisfaction, if it comes from sticking to the process and feeling satisfied with that, and like just having fun, or like enjoying the process of practice, it's a lot more sustainable, right? In my opinion, right? If it's like it's harder to like find satisfaction in that.
I don't know, I've had some pretty like rough experience. I don't know if I'd say rough, but like very humbling experience with trying to beat certain people like in Tetra League or in sets. They like people who have improved faster than me, and it can be very, very damaging to a mental game. Like, I don't know, but sometimes it feels nice, but I don't know, it's not super sustainable in the end. There's also the classic, you know, like stop playing as much into become commentator pipeline that I think
that Modest just keeps talking about. I honestly wish more people would do that instead of just stop playing the game after they stop liking it.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah, it's fine. Well, I guess that's most of what that's probably pretty much everything that I left out of the coaching document, because I was like, or like the coaching 50-minute thing that I did, because it's just like, wow, that's probably too much for what I wanted that video to be, which is, I hoped, it felt a little, I was thinking about dropping it in the coach only chat, but then I was like, that's kind of presumptuous of me. I want other people to have their own opinions of coaching, right?
Yeah.
And to a degree, I kind of wished, I would have liked to have somebody, like have a guest for this one, but I can't really think of I couldn't really have thought of a good person to ask, because there's a lot of people. Maybe I could have asked Sek or something, but I don't know.
Yeah. We should have Sek on sometime. That'd be fun.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I still enjoy like the 2-person no guest format.
Yeah,
you know, like running through all our guests is gonna be pretty rough on the longevity of Around the Block. Did you know that there's a crypto podcast called Around the Block that's
kind of funny?
at exactly the same time?
I think we're gonna get. That's actually awful for us.
Oh, we're gonna get Mike Wazowski so hard.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, yeah. I know Cyprian has had some thoughts on like, he had a Twitter thread on mental health that I was thinking about responding to, but I didn't. We mostly just discussed it in my server.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like people. There's a lot of players that like need external validation, or like need like flagpoles to compare themselves against. That's very difficult to. It's very easy to do that, and it's very difficult to get out of that.
Mhm.
And if someone is actually able to put in the work and like has the aptitude, we're not gonna lie that there's some natural aptitude for the game, genetics, TM, and then they're going to improve very quickly. They'll set targets on people's backs or on PBs, and they'll just keep going and then feed off the praise until
Mhm.
they either get to the top, or they either or quit or like learn better mental habits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
All
that's
right.
and that's
That's
yeah.
probably good.
I think that's a good place to stop. That's a good place to
Yes.
stop as any.
Um. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be streaming the Collegiate Tetris League. I don't know if I'll be streaming, but that will be running. Um.
Junior.
Yes, it's gonna be like our little UC kind of thing. Um. But less
I'm
restrictive
excited.
because I don't think people would smurf this. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Um.
I'm really excited. There's a lot of West Canada. We got a lot of
You
those
guys
like
will probably just get a
levels.
lot of points from this from sheer numbers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because there's literally just not enough like low level players on other teams. But we'll see. We
I
certainly
love
will see.
West Canada poggers.
Um, is there anything else to shout out? You
Not
don't have
per.
any tournaments coming up.
I don't got anything
You
coming up.
just you just you just woke up from playing in the Vietnam tournament, right?
Ha, ha, it was a VTuber tournament. Hanami Arisa, I think their name is.
That was a VTuber tournament.
That was a VTubers tournament, second annual apparently.
That's
I just
neat.
joined their server for the express purpose of playing, and I got second.
It's nice.
I'm I'm all right with second. I wish I could have gotten a bracket reset, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm at acceptance now.
We could take a look at the set sometime. I don't know.
Oh, we could. We
Or
could.
I'll.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. The set is like pretty gross.
Yeah. Oh, I'll see how I want. If I can
Mhm.
figure out a format for coaching stuff that is sustainable. Yeah.
Mhm.
Other than that, I guess thanks for watching. Yeah. Renge got $20, right?
I got $20, which is headed straight into the pockets of one Selena VTuber because my PayPal's broken.
Okay. Uh. But yeah. Thank you all for watching.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks
Have a
for
good one.
anyone in Twitch who came and everyone on YouTube who's watching.
Love you all.
Right.
Mwah.
See ya.